Hello, everybody. I am Nick Johnson. This is my beautiful wife, Adinah Johnson, and we are coming to you today with another video around communication. We started this series on our last video. We'll be linking to that below in the description of this video. But today we're going to talk about something that most individuals can do very well. What do you think that is, honey?
Communicate?
No, most individuals cannot communicate well.
What can they do very well?
Complain.
Oh.
Most people can complain pretty good.
Yeah.
That's something or a skill that we start to develop. I think before we even learn how to speak as babies.
No.
You know, we're not happy. We'll whine and cry, and then we'll sit up and we'll start to articulate things. But usually those things are always somewhat self-centered around us.
Right.
And then as soon as things are not the way that we want to, we learn how to say no. And then as we grow, those things typically grow into complaints.
Yeah, snowball.
Yeah, they snowball. So the thing is that we complain quite often, usually quite well.
Yeah.
I'm hot. Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that?
Right.
Why is your pen so fancy? All kinds of stuff. But we never tend to do anything about those complaints often.
Right.
So we're going to get into that video today. Within this video, we're going to get into it,
Right.
talking about complaints, but complaints with a request for change. But before we get into it, I want to remind you that if you have not, please make sure to just take a moment, click the subscribe button right down below. Make sure you get notifications as well as we continue to build on this series and release other videos as well around other concepts and techniques around what word am I trying to say? Cohabitating is not what I want to say. That's when you live with somebody. Coexisting.
Yeah.
Is that what I want to say? Coexisting with your spouses and other individuals. Because the skills that we learn here are utilized with your spouses, but they can be used for anybody.
Oh,
so
yeah.
we don't want to do that. Okay, so we talked about complaining, but we're going to talk about complaints with requests for change.
Well, and what I wanted to say was one thing that I learned, and I know you often say that the wife gets a nag tag, but one thing that I learned early in our marriage is that complaining or fussing did not work out for you
Really,
or
no,
me.
me, nah.
And so it just didn't work. And so I think, we all know it's insanity to keep doing the same thing over and over, expecting a different result. And so I had to learn to use a complaint with a request for change and not just saying it's hot, or, just constantly making complaints, but to say, hey, it's hot. Can you turn down the thermostat? Or, is it possible for you to call me if you're going to be late? Mm-hmm. Those type of things. And I think it's so important when you communicate with your spouse that you have goodwill, because oftentimes if you don't have goodwill, then individuals will feel attacked, and you don't want them to feel attacked. You want to be able to come to your partner and tell them anything. And I think we're at the level where we can be honest with each other. I mean, if it's something going on, I'm hungry, or I'm emotional, or whatever the case may be, I usually try to communicate that effectively early.
Yeah. When we take the approach of giving a request for change whenever we have a complaint, we guide the individual that we're interacting with on how they can resolve the issue.
Yeah.
If you just say that you are hot, for instance,
In Florida.
in
In the summer.
it basically leads me to my own.
Yeah, you could blow on me and that could make me mad.
Exactly. I can give you a blow. No. I can try to get you some ice cream, get you something to drink. So I'm constantly doing this. And really at the end of the day, really what you might have wanted could have been for me to cut the AC down.
Yeah.
Or maybe you had on a long sleeve shirt or something of that nature, or something that was just really warm, and you were the one who needed to do something different.
Yeah.
So it was really nothing that I could have done. So just by giving that request for change would really help to resolve the issue. Would keep me from running to the kitchen and running and trying to, blow on you. And,
That's true. That would keep a person from running in circles trying to figure it out, because we often hear that individuals say that they want another person. They don't feel like they want them to read their mind, but that's in essence what it is. If you're complaining and say, well, why don't you just get it? Well, because we're not the same person. We don't think alike.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's not fair.
It's not, because when I'm warm, just in that particular instance, if I'm warm, what would resolve my issue could be completely different.
Is a shower.
Probably a cold shower is what I want. That's typically whenever I'm really hot, I just want to get a cold shower. So
Right.
that's what I usually want to do. So what we have to really be mindful of is when we hear someone and it sounds like they're making a complaint. We have to be willing to say, okay, could you give me some actions around that? Could you give me could you make a request as far as how I can change the situation?
Yeah. And I think we talked about that in the last video, how I would just send you emojis and you were like, can you send me words? You just finally kept saying words, please. And then I'm like, I don't want to send you words because I was at the light. Now I'm driving. I can't send words. And so I would just, when I get to the next light, I would say driving. But I still got the emojis.
Yeah, there you go. You always have those. So you really want to do that. So how can we can do a complaint with request for change, but we can also maybe sandwich that in if we wanted to with a rave from the past video. Do you want to try to do that?
Yeah, I want to do a rave. And this is a very important one. And I think this is one that couples have a really hard time with. I think oftentimes, and I think I mentioned how when I was pregnant with our last child, our daughter, that you would constantly GPS my phone.
Yes, I would.
And so it drove me nuts because I'm like, what is the deal? But because I was going through my own issues, having had so many miscarriages, that I really couldn't focus on what your issue was at the time. But you were having your own issues as well. So it was so much easier for you to GPS my phone as opposed to saying, where are you going? What are you doing? What's happening? And I think a lot of times women get the nag tag because it's out of fear that they want to know where their partner is. I mean, in this day and age, individuals are getting killed just for riding down the street. And so that's a scary thing if your spouse doesn't know where you are and you just come up missing for long periods of time. Then it's just like, are you on the side of the road with your head split open? I mean, what is happening here? Because it's so dangerous right now. So I'm going to do a rave around coming in late and not communicating effectively where the spouse is. And I want everyone to listen to, I think so often, because anger is a secondary emotion, or when we fuss or when we're nagging, it's easy to come off as, a person that's fussing or nagging. But many times that comes out of fear. And so what I want people to do is when we're doing this rave, I want people to hear the fear in my voice. And when you hear the fear in your partner's voice, you don't want to hurt them. And so oftentimes you understand it's not that they just want to control you. At the time that, I was pregnant, we couldn't do that. It just wasn't working to effectively do that because we were both going through our own issues. And so that was a difficult situation. And eventually I realized, just from knowing you for so long, that you were afraid that something was going to happen to me and with the baby, and you would not be there.
Yeah. And, unfortunately, fear is something that we all have to deal with. And doing that was a way that I could try to deal with the issue that I was dealing with without having to constantly inconvenience you. Because at that particular point, we did have a small child. Yeah. So you had to try to deal with him, and to also, last thing I want to do is to constantly call you saying, hey, what are you doing? Where are you? How are you doing? Things like that. So I figured that will be something that would be the least invasive form.
And it annoyed the stew out of me. I would just look at my phone. It's like, GPS, really?
Really?
Just like, I told you where I was going. I'm going to the store.
Yes, ma'am. That was it.
Not that I was going to 50 different stores. And you had no clue.
Well, I kind of knew where you were going.
Okay.
Well, let me ask you this, or let me make this request. Can we do a complaint request for change and segue into the rave?
Okay.
All around that one thing?
Okay.
Okay.
So, I'm going to do a complaint with a request for change, and then yeah, we'll do the rave with the same topic of coming in late, and it's going to be you coming in late. I know we talked about me not telling you where I was, and when I was pregnant, because I wasn't going to deal with that. But okay, honey, when you're going to be late, can you please text me or notify me or call me and let me know where you are so I don't have to worry?
Okay. So oftentimes I have meetings going on, and it does cause me to come in late. And you just really would like for me to be able to call you to let you know that I'm going to be late. Yes,
because there are so many things happening nowadays where just a simple traffic stop can cost someone their life. And so right now that is very scary to me, to not know where you are or what's going on with you. So I would prefer for you to just notify me when you're going to be late.
Okay. Well, I do understand that these are very interesting times that we live in right now, and that we do have to be very mindful of what's going on, and that whenever we are away from each other, there should be some accountability there, and I can do better as far as trying to call you and let you know what's going on.
Thank you. Okay, I wanted to say one more piece and then you rave it back to me. Okay. Well, because as I mentioned, it is trying time, and I do worry about you. I mean, if you think about it, if you're in one place and I have no idea where you are, and say, for instance, I mean, this happens a lot where there's, a person is watching the news, or even people come up and say, hey, I saw your husband, he was X, Y, and Z. And as the wife, I could say, no, he's not, because he's here.
Yeah. Just as far as you would like for me to be able to let you know where I am, so that you can have a peace of mind of knowing, no matter what happens, whether it is, something you see on the news or someone saying, hey, I think I saw Nick or here or there, you can have the knowledge of what's going on, so that you can feel at peace as far as what's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And here's one more thing. I'm glad you did a rave really good there. And I had a hard time not laughing at this one because you work from home. So you're here.
I go into the office sometime.
Once a week. Once maybe every other week. And you're really good at letting me know where you are. And I don't have to GPS your phone. Mm-hmm. I always know where you are. And you even say, hey, I'm headed back. And you even tell me, hey, I'm right here. So you're really good at that. So it was good to be able to rave with you for an issue that we don't have.
Well, I think with anything, I think it's hypocritical for me to expect something from you and me not do it.
Yeah.
So I don't think when I do go into the office, I do text you saying at work, or.
I know, and I'm horrible because I forget to text you that I'm at work.
Yes, you are horrible.
I'm just so happy to be at work. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to be at work sometimes. So I'm just like, I'm here. I'm dancing in the street. I don't have kids around me constantly right now. I'm at work.
No, it's okay. I understand. But I think you don't.
So was that a backwards rave? Did you want to rave at me instead of me raving at you?
No. It's just that I'm not that. Typically, I know you say that you're bad, but you'll usually get around, because I know at this point that usually when you get there, that sometimes you have to get in, you have to get set up and get ready to roll, that you can't always have that time to let me know.
Right.
So usually if it gets to around like maybe an hour,
yeah,
and I haven't heard from you, now I'll start thinking like, okay, well, what's the deal? Let me GPS her. She may go.
Don't. We don't even have that on our phone anymore, I don't think. You're joking.
But you don't mean it don't exist.
Oh, yeah, I think I do. It comes up location indicator or something. Okay, whatever.
Yeah.
So you did a great job of raving. And I think so often individuals are afraid and they don't know. And so it comes off as nagging or fussing. And it's really out of fear. It's out of concern for that person. It's not that a person wants to control their partner or their spouse, but if you rave, you can cut down a lot of that nagging.
And I know you just mentioned nagging, but I think you had a really impactful verse
Had some water.
that you wanted to share with us. Was that Proverbs 21 that you wanted to share?
Proverbs 21:9. And the Bible says that it is better for a man to live on the corner of a roof than be with a quarrelsome woman. Not just the roof. You don't have the whole roof. You just have a corner of the roof than to be with a nagging woman. And I'm like, wow. Do you know how hot it is on a roof?
Very hot.
It's hot because you have tar and the black and the dark and the reflection, and then you're so close to the sun. So instead of being in the house with a nagging woman, it is better to be on a corner of a roof. And that's what the Bible says in Proverbs. That is like, when I think about that, I'm like, you don't even get the whole layout of the land. You just get that one corner. Yeah. And it's better for you to be there than to be. And that's like, wow. How hard is it to be with a woman who is fussing, nagging, and just being quarrelsome? So that for men must be like, I don't know. I'm not a man. So, but that for men must be like rain on your head. Not just rain, but hail. Just horrible.
Okay. So there's this commercial.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're talking about. I know exactly the commercial you're talking about. Go ahead.
I'll have to see if I can find it, see if I can link it somewhere down there. But there's this, it was actually like a
sports commercial.
They always play during football games. It was actually like a beverage commercial. But what happened is that it shows this coach, and he's literally sitting there, and like he's getting like, the referee, I believe, is like, no, this guy's a referee, and the coach is leaning in on him. The coaches are like, oh, how did you mess that call up? Oh, you stink. You're horrible. There's like, oh, he's frozen. How can he just sit there and take that? He's a machine. And then like kind of flashes back to him at home. And the wife's like, Harry, I can't believe you did this. My mother was right. I should have married Lawrence. You know, she just like really gets him right.
She's just railing on
him. She's going to town.
And he's just like,
he just becomes like immune to it. And the thing is that and this goes across the board, not just for women, but for men also. You don't want to get to the point where you talk so much people start just toning you out.
Yeah.
You know.
Where they just tune you out. They don't hear you anymore.
Yeah, and not good. I've always been to the point where I'd rather speak occasionally than speak all the time, because when you speak,
it's just ad nauseum.
Ad nauseum. It's almost like the old commercial. What was that, E.F. Hutton?
Yeah.
Was that
he speaks? Yeah.
Yeah. E.F. Hutton.
You're dating yourself.
No, this is dating myself.
When E.F. Hutton speaks, everyone
people listen. Yeah, he's like, that's really it. So we want to make sure for that. And also, there's another verse, and I think as we try to continue along, we were working through this series, so we can't necessarily tell you how many videos are going to be in this series. But I think it's really important as we think of Proverbs, we think about Proverbs 18:21, and how it's life and death in the power of the tongue, and how we need to be mindful of that, and how we can speak life into a situation, or we can also speak death into a situation based on some of the things that we say. So I think at some point we're going to add to this series and talk about how we can speak life into situations, into our relationships, and how we can just be extremely supportive in really building up our spouses and people that we love through the things that we say.
Yeah, I mean, because we've all seen someone talk themselves right out of a job where they say, oh, I hate this job, I can't stand this job. Or a relationship, too, where they're constantly saying how they're not happy, and then eventually they're breaking up, as opposed to being positive about it and speaking life into the relationship and into the job, which, I mean, you can always being unhappy with something, or you can find joy in everything you do, and so Absolutely. That's so important.
Yeah, you definitely want to sit there, and we talked about pleasure and pain in the previous video. We really want to make sure that that we encourage everybody to choose to be on the pleasure side,
right,
and not the pain side, and to understand when you're not on the pleasure side and do what you can to get back over there. So absolutely.
All right, I think I covered everything on my notes.
You good?
For this video, yes, sir.
All right. Well, if that is the case, that means that we are good to go. You want to close it?
Well, I got one more thing. I did
Bonus.
find something on my notes.
Bonus.
There's one thing I want you to do though. If your partner is
Me?
working, no,
Okay.
I'm sorry, the viewers. If your partner is working on the rave, it's important that you acknowledge them. Or if they're working on something that you've made a request for change for, like for instance, I'm gonna get you. When you told me to put words in my emojis, I don't think you acknowledge, or in my text, I don't think you acknowledge that I did it. But that's okay. I mean, because I did need to tell you.
Well, that means that you got a reward coming, ma'am.
I'm not gonna start.
Yes, you are.
No. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
Okay. But that's the thing. I think it's important that a person acknowledges. I always get told I'm flirting with you in the video, so stop it. But I think it's important that you acknowledge that a person is working on a skill, or they have done something that you requested that they
You sure
change.
I didn't thank you?
You may have. I don't know. You're good at that too.
Okay.
But
I don't know.
it's
I'm
so-
not. I'll let you know. I'm willing to admit fault if I did, and I will apologize for it. But I didn't know.
But it's
Cause
so,
it's not worth fighting over.
It's not worth fighting over. No, it's not. You don't want any smoke.
I don't want smoke. So now I'm trying to quit.
Don't say that. People don't know you well enough to know that you don't smoke. Stop it. Okay. But it's so important that you acknowledge if a person has done, has working on a skill, that you acknowledge it, because how often is it that a person works hard to get your attention or to work on a skill that you've requested and you don't even mention it or acknowledge it, and then they're like, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yeah, you
You know.
really want to reinforce that behavior.
Yeah.
I mean, if they're doing something that you are finding pleasurable or is meeting a need that you have, let them know.
Yeah.
Because if you don't give them that feedback, like, well, I guess I'm not doing that right. So they may actually move on from doing that because, like, okay, well, I tried this and I didn't get any type of feedback, any type of reinforcement. So let me go on someplace else.
Yeah.
Do it.
And I think, I was guilty of that. I talked about that in my book. Whereas when we first got married, you would tell me, Adinah, you're acting childish. And I freaked out. I'm like, you're not going to tell me I'm acting childish at all. No, that's not going to happen. And so you literally had to start counting the days that you had not told me that I was acting childish. And so for me, you just stopped it. And I don't think I acknowledged at that time that you had stopped doing that. But, I guess eventually once you finally did and you were like, oh, it's been, I guess, 100 days or however
No,
many
it was
days.
like 300 and something days.
It was
I
like a
remember-
year you
It
had
was like
called me
almost a year.
childish. I don't
Because I
even
remember it was like, we'll tell that whole story later on, but it was like 11 months.
Yeah.
I remember saying that.
So you were like, I lost all this time. And honestly, it wasn't an issue for us anymore. So
Because I stopped doing it.
Yeah, but I don't, what I'm saying is I didn't acknowledge that you were working on that was a request for change that I had, and that you literally was working on that. So what I'm saying is I'm talking to the viewers about acknowledging when someone does make changes that they've requested, and to not let that go by. And that was just one example where I don't, I think I may have acknowledged it the first month or so, or maybe I didn't acknowledge it at all. And I was just like, hey, that's not a problem for me. And that's not fair. You got to acknowledge to your partner that they've worked on something that you requested.
I agree.
All right, close us out.
Okay. Well, thank you all so much. This has been the second in this series. We'll continue to build on this as in the days and weeks to come. If you have not, please take a moment to subscribe down below. Also, in the comments, let us know what you think about your complaints with requests for change. Is that something that you already do? Is it something that you did try and it's working out for you? Please let us know down in the comments. Also, if you have any other things you'd like to discuss with us, whether it is comments about topics or questions around situations that you might be dealing with, please feel free to reach out to us. If you'd like to, put it down in the comments. If you'd like to, also, you can contact us on Twitter, or you can contact us on Instagram. So all that contact stuff is down there, also along with our email address. So,
Well, and if they try the rave, they need to, I want them to acknowledge.
put it down.
Yeah,
Yes,
put it down.
absolutely.
So,
Yes.
not just the complaint with the request for change, but the rave as well.
Okay, and also what I'll probably do and I've been noticing this in my head, I almost feel like we have to do an absolutely counter because I feel like I say absolutely all the time, and I've been trying to stop. And I just
You're
go,
agreeing with me.
absolutely. All right,
You're going to get the pen again.
So now go down and say, how many times did Nick say absolutely? So you can do that. So, okay. So, all right. Thank you all so much. We appreciate you all just visiting us and spending this time with us to continue to add those skills and those tools to your toolbox.
And to work on your relationships and your marriages. That's so important. You were going to say it.
I was. Okay. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Have a great day, and we'll see you all at another time. So
Thank you.
Be blessed.